Welcome back to the Meet the Athlete podcast. In today's episode, I'm joined by Ross Braden. He's ran 2:14 at London Marathon this year, recently signed for Mizuno, so it's great to sit down and chat to him about all things running and then some food at the end as well. Ross has been a local athlete, someone I've known for a few years, raced against him a couple of times, so it was great to sit down and chat. And we're also studying the same thing at uni, so pretty interesting to have a little chat about that. And I really hope you enjoy this episode of the Meet the Athlete podcast with Ross Braden. So, guys, we're here with Ross Braden. How are we doing?
Good, good. Thanks for having me on. Good to be on. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. As I said just before we started the episode, legs were a little bit tired. But yeah, that's part of it. If you expect to train kind of fully recovered all the time, you're not going to be training very often.
No, exactly. There's always going to be a bit of tiredness. I feel like winter is it's just mostly just slogging on tired legs. So yeah, standard stuff.
Well, as a marathon boy yourself, or a recent marathon boy, you definitely will be used to running on tired legs for sure.
I mean, yeah, I feel like a big part of marathon training is just being able to put sort of decent sessions in on tired legs. It's pretty much a 3 4 month period of that sort of constant level of fatigue, but not too much, so you can still get some good sessions in. But yeah, it's not too often that my legs feel really good, so
Yeah.
it's part and parcel of it.
Well, that's it's kind of like a then when your legs do feel good, it's like a massive kind of boost to your mental, like psychological side, I guess. But obviously you just ran the Friday under the lights 5 miler. I've forgotten the name of it exactly.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
How did that go?
pretty terrible to be honest. I kind of I basically had COVID a couple of weeks ago. I was quite fit for that because I was going to do Telford 10K,
Okay.
but that just came a bit close after COVID. So I thought extra week, hopefully get a bit of fitness back,
Yeah.
see what happens. And thought, right, let's just go and try and go with the leaders, try and see what's there. But unfortunately, after about the first mile, I just realised it was too quick, and yeah, it was a bit of a struggle, a bit of damage limitation. But I mean, just good fun to race. It was they cleared the course about 20 minutes before, so it was
Oh,
amazing that was
really?
even a race there. So yeah, it's just good fun to just get one more race in for the end of the year. So not race too much this year. So yeah, just a bit of fun really. Not the end of the world that it didn't go to plan.
Yeah, for sure. I've seen some like videos and photos at the start. What was that like? Was it a bit crazy with the frost and the ice, or was it not too bad?
Yes, it was quite a narrow path. Obviously, everyone trying to get to the front, and there was a turn after about 200 meters. So, um, yeah, it was a bit justly, a bit like fighting for your position, which I'm not too used to in marathon. But I don't think anyone fell in the first corner, so it was all fine.
Bonus.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it was yeah, like turning up, and it was like -5, and there was only enough for like three people abreast, so it was all a bit chaotic at the start, but definitely good fun.
To be fair, it's always pretty chaotic at Battersea Park. What's your opinion of the course? Do you find it's like pretty accurate? Because like, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I'll go to Battersea Park. It's kind of like a little bit short on all the races. What's your opinion? Because I know the GPS goes a bit out of whack, doesn't it? So
Well, I train there like 3 times a week, so I'm obviously not gonna admit if
slate
it's
it.
short at all.
Yeah.
Although my watch is pretty stingy, so mine always beeps later than everyone else's, so I like to think that it's reasonable accurate. But I mean, I think the Friday night under the lights guys do put a lot of work in to make sure it's the correct distance, and I hope it was, because otherwise my time was even worse. So
Well, I've only done one race there. I did a 5K earlier this year, and I did a massive PB. So I'm going to say it's the correct distance. If anything, I'd say it's long.
yeah, I'd agree with that. Definitely
Yeah,
long.
yeah.
Yeah, really long. So
But maybe if you, because you train there so often, maybe the GPS actually kind of works for you. But then, like the new people that kind of come from elsewhere, maybe the GPS doesn't work for them, and that's why there's a bleeping so much earlier because like the GPS isn't fully synced. Because I know that when I was doing my 5K and I ran 14:40, I looked down at my watch and it was like I was running like 4 minute Ks according to my watch, and I was like, okay,
I
interesting.
mean,
So
I mean that sounds plausible. So we can go with that.
yeah,
Yeah, I think with I think when we're training, we take it a little bit with a pinch of salt. Like it's more to effort. Like if there's a few seconds either way, it's not the end of the world. But I think with the racing, they obviously get the measuring wheel and stuff out, and someone has gone around the whole of Battersea and measured it every 200 meters, so you can get an accurate loop if you use that.
Yeah, for sure. Did you have any like crazy kind of dog walkers or pedestrians? Because when I did it, there was a video that kind of went a little bit viral of like a guy just walking across the path, and then there's like the elite men's wave just coming like and just swallowing him up basically.
Well, because it was Friday night and it was so cold, there was pretty much no one else in the park.
Okay.
So yeah, fortunately not. But I think I did the same event, and yeah, that was potentially
Yeah.
could have gone really wrong, but luckily it wasn't too
So
much.
so I actually saw I think you posted on social media that you had a bag stolen from the event. Is that correct?
So it wasn't actually from the event; it was the next night. I
Okay.
was trying to have a social life as you
Yeah.
as you do, and just had my a bag with a couple of pairs of running shoes and all my kit for the next morning,
Yeah.
and turned away for a couple of minutes and it was gone. So yeah,
Oh,
it was a bit of a blow, especially as it then meant I didn't have my kit for training, so I had to um, go back home because it was basically I was going to stay at a mate's because of the train strikes.
okay.
So yeah, it was not the best preparation for a session, trying to get back late on buses and all sorts, and then having to. Luckily, I've got a fair bit of kit, so could replace it easily. But yeah, somewhat frustrating. But it wasn't at the event, fortunately.
Mm, yeah, for sure. Because my session this morning, I like to warm up in lots of layers, and then I got down to the canal and didn't really have anywhere to put my stuff. And that story kind of came to mind. I was like, do I really want to leave my jumper and my tracksuit bottoms here? Because they're my favorite tracksuit bottoms. Get a bit protective over my tracksuit bottoms, and yeah, I just didn't want to come back and then be like completely completely disappear.
Well, I was annoyed that I kind of wasn't paying attention enough. But like you say, the amount of time we leave kit here, there, and everywhere, it just reminds you to be a bit more careful. So it can kind of happen
Yeah.
to any time. But yeah,
I'm to be fair, I'm actually kind of shocked it doesn't happen more often at like races and stuff. Because if like obviously we know the value of the kit we're leaving about. So all it would take is someone who knew what people were leaving about and kind of the confidence to do it, I guess. But if anyone's listening thinking of doing it, please don't. It's a massive ball ache when you get stuff nicked.
yeah, definitely, yeah. And usually there's people about at races to keep an eye on it. But yeah,
Yeah,
there's,
for
there's
sure.
there could be a lot of money in a race kit
Can
bag,
you
isn't
imagine
there?
you like if you don't race with your watch on, you just leave it in your bag, and then you've got like a spare pair of shoes in there as well, and like your tracksuit bottoms and headphones or whatever. Oh, crikey, it get a bit ridiculous.
Well, that's exactly what it was. Yeah, it was. I'm trying to
Oh
think about how
no.
much money of kit there was, but yeah.
What watch was it that you had in the bag?
So it was a Garmin, I think like 735. So like not new, but it was more. I had a session the next morning. I was like,
I don't have a
what am I
watch.
gonna do? How am I gonna? Is it even point any worth doing the session? But luckily, one of my training mates had a spare watch, so um, that saved the day. But yeah, that
Yeah.
was that was probably the most upsetting bit.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But anyway, we'll talk about so you recently signed for Mizuno, pretty cool. I have to say Mizuno is one of those brands that I think a lot of people kind of I have to say I don't think they kind of really think of when you talk about like the top running game. But it's definitely a brand that I really, really want to try some of their shoes. Some of the guys I train with, like a guy called Chris, he loves his Mizuno Wave Inspires. I think he bought like a few pairs just to make sure he's got them for the near future. And I really want to get my hands on that new Mizuno. I've forgotten it. It's like Wave Rebellion Pro or something when it comes out in March. Um,
January.
January. Okay, when
Yeah.
when it comes out in January, you're the guy to ask. But yeah, so you signed for Mizuno. How's that been since you signed?
Yes, I mean the way it kind of came about quite quickly in that they sent me a pair of the new carbon shoes to try,
Yeah,
and I really loved them, and I told them as much, and just sort of gave a decent review of them back to the guy that sent me them, and he sort of said, "Oh, do you want to have a chat about potential sponsorship?" And yeah, we went from there, and they were quite keen. So yeah, it's been. I mean, I didn't think I'd run quick enough in London to get a pro deal. So yeah, was absolutely delighted when that came through, and the kit is fantastic. I mean, I'm obviously gonna rave about it, but I mean, I was gonna race in the shoes anyway before I signed with them. So when they said when they offered something, it was a no brainer because like, I really like the shoes, and that's kind of the big reason you sign with someone. Like you don't want to sign with someone that doesn't have a good carbon
Hmm.
shoe that's gonna not help you racing. But they've kind of taken a while to get the shoe out, but most people do seem to really get on with it, and seems to have been worth the wait. So yeah, it's really exciting.
Yeah, I have to say I did contact them and see if they'd send me a pair to trial and review, and they are going to send me some, which is really nice of them. So if there's anyone from Mizuno is listening, much appreciated. But what they said was that they can't be reviewed like publicly by content creators and stuff until like early January. But all the reviews I've actually seen, whether they're meant to be out or not, have been really good. So that's why I'm kind of like actually really buzzing to get my hands on a pair. But anyway, less about my running shoe fantasies. What shoes do you use from Mizuno?
So obviously the races. I actually tried out. They've got another pair of like short distance carbon shoes. So I used for the 5 miler, which were yeah, they're just sort of a more aggressive. That probably not the best for marathon, but good for short distance. But I quite like the mileage shoes. Really nice. They got the Wave Rider.
Okay.
Because I was always generally Nike or Saucony. And again, I sort of wanted to make sure whoever I signed with had good mileage shoes because that's what you're in day out.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're really nice. I've been getting good use out of the trail shoes in the last week with all the snow. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's generally what I use. They've also got the Rebellion, which are kind of the like Zoom Fly equivalent, like long run session top
Okay.
shoes.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to say, there's a few brands who will remain unmentioned because I don't want to burn bridges, who have kind of been lacking in like the elite kind of carbon racer shoe game. And I think it's fair to say Mizuno are probably one of them, but not anymore because they've released this shoe that seems to be really good. But yeah, I think it is a big thing with kind of new top like elite guys like trying to sign for brands, and if they haven't got that like that that shoe that because you see it. What I'm trying to say is, you see it with like some of the guys who sign with different people, but then they haven't got a good racer, so they end up racing in like the Vaporflies and then like painting them black, like Chris Thompson did at the Olympic trials. So it's good that you've got confidence in this shoe that they've released, basically.
Well, that's the thing. It comes down to you need to run well to kind of back up your results. So if you've got shoes that you don't like and you're not happy to race in, then that you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot because yeah, it's nice to have a deal, but it's pretty meaningless if you're not actually running well. And especially over a marathon, like you can't have a shoe that you're not 100% confident in. So yeah, I think that comes into play when you're sort of looking at who to like. If I was fortunate enough to have someone offer me a contract, but yeah, you don't want to sign a contract and not have a decent racing shoe.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I've got a question, and you can tell me to shove it where the sun don't shine if you don't want to answer it. This contract, does it mean that you don't have to do a full-time job anymore?
So yeah, I mean a little bit. I will still work to help a little bit, but it's basically pays for kind of training camps and in the lead up to London, I'll cut down my work quite a bit. So yeah, it definitely helps with that side of it.
So,
Um,
so, so what do you do as a job at the moment, if you don't mind me asking?
so I do soft tissue massage, and
Okay,
I'm also studying to
nice.
be an osteopath. So I'm in my final year of uni.
Yeah,
So this, yeah, it's from now to June is pretty busy, and the last few months have been pretty busy. But the basic plan is once I finish my degree to really just cut down on work and just do it as and when I kind of want to, and
yeah,
focus on the running as a full time thing.
yeah. Cool. So are you studying at, is it BCom in London?
So it's called the London School of Osteopathy.
Okay, yeah.
It's similar.
LSO. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I think we've talked about this over like personal messages. I can't remember, but I'm studying at the European School of Osteopathy in
Yeah,
Maidstone. So yeah, so I'm on a similar path. So if it ends up with me having a contract in my fourth year, then
Yeah, I mean, I
sounds
think
good to
that's how
me.
it works. So yeah,
So how are you finding the osteopathy? Because I have to say I find it a lot of work, a lot of mental strain, a lot of I have to say I'm not passionate about it, um, but sometimes it can feel rewarding when you help people with issues that are obviously causing them pain.
I mean, yeah, I really enjoy it. I kind of started doing massage, and it's found it's sort of limited in what you can help. So I've had some really good osteos over the years, so wanted to go into that. And yeah, I really enjoy the work. Like it's probably more intense than I envisioned, but it'll definitely be worth it when I finish the course and have that. And yeah, it's quite difficult at the moment balancing everything, but um, I do really enjoy the course. So it's kind of, I think it could be good to have that interest outside of running to focus your mind and not live and die on every good training session and
It's
race.
true. It's true. Yeah, I have to say, yeah, osteopathy is not something that's kind of come natural to me. I'd like to do the sports massage as well. So if it's you're London based, right? So if anyone
Yeah,
is listening in London and they want a sports massage, hit up Ross. How do they find you if they want to get a massage from yourself?
probably through Instagram. It's probably the easiest.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of get through a few people. I'm Southeast London, so yeah, if
Cool.
anyone needs some help, let me know.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I have to say, yeah, like I've tried to explain, and this is not a cold pity party. Like, I don't, like my sister, I think she's basically got over a month off for Christmas. And I've got I'm working in the clinic doing clinic hours until Friday, and then I'm back on the 3rd of January. So like compared to a normal degree, I've got a lot less time off, where I could be training a lot more or relaxing, you know. So obviously that's something you can sympathize with.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just so much more intense than most other degrees. So I did a history degree originally, and that was a walk in the park compared to this. So yeah, I feel your pain.
One of my friends who he sadly dropped out actually because I'm not sure of the reason. I think it's because he found it too tough. But he'd done a law degree, so he was a qualified lawyer, and then he did the osteopathy degree, and he was like, "Mate, I'm going back to the law degree. This is ridiculous." So yeah.
Yeah,
Um, so another thing that I'd like to talk about is your training camps because obviously these training camps must have gone pretty well. You end up running a 2:14 marathon, which I think it's safe to say that you were even kind of a bit shocked with in the end. Like that was obviously a great run for you in the end. What do these kind of training camps consist of? Obviously, some of them you've been training with the likes of Phil Sessman. So where'd you go? How long did you go for? Take me through a little bit of these training camps, you know?
so yeah, I did 3 camps last year. The first was actually through work. I was working with the Commonwealth game England Commonwealth game team. So that was a bit more sort of work in between the training. But then the other two were sort of organised by a few people I train with, like and also people like Sesman and there's another guy called Ollie Lockley. And yeah, so the first camp was 3 weeks, which I think is sort of accepted, like the accepted minimum really for your first camp. You need some time to adjust and then to actually get the work and adapt to it. The second camp was 6 weeks, which was maybe I think I overcooked it a little bit. Kind of dug myself into a bit of a hole and didn't actually come back and race that well, which again is it's all learning. Like it's what you kind of have to do. And then I did one more camp of about 2 weeks just before London to kind of top up the sort of fitness gains. Um, in terms of what's involved, I mean, it's basically living the dream. You kind of wake up, have a leisurely breakfast, go for a run, come home, have a nap, eat, go for another run, go to the gym, um, eat, get an early night. Basically, it's kind of amazing how quickly the time goes. You kind of think, oh, that doesn't sound like that's that much time, but I think because you're living that lifestyle, you're not rushing around. So you go for a run, you kind of do more of a warm up, do some drills, and um, suddenly the days just absolutely fly by. I mean, it's a whole different like track sessions and stuff, a whole different type of pain because you're running at pace and you think this should be easy, but just you're just not getting the oxygen. So there's a bit of working out because everyone responds to it differently as well. So there's a bit of working out how hard you can push. But yeah, it's very much you kind of work to effort and just know that just be it living up there is half the battle. If you can just train sensibly, not dig yourself too big a hole, and you come back and you'll most likely run well. So yeah, that was last year, and actually I'm off to another camp in a few weeks. I'm going to Kenya, so that'll be a really cool experience.
Very cool.
Because yeah, when we were in Fontenoy in France, and that's all your sort of home comforts are there. Like it's very similar to the UK.
Kenya's going to be a bit different.
Yeah, this is going to be somewhat different. It's much higher, and yeah, I think it's going to be hard work, and there's some really top guys going there. So I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also very aware that it's not going to be a walk in the park.
Yeah, for sure. Something I'd like to know, and again, if you don't want to disclose this information, it's absolutely fine. If someone is like yourself and they're trying to kind of break into that kind of getting out of that sub elite into the elite sort of area, and they think a training camp's going to help, how much do these sort of things kind of cost? Like, is it actually pretty cheap apart from the rent, or is it actually quite an expensive thing to do?
So I mean, it depends. So like France, the flights are pretty cheap. You can get return flights and just sort of transfer there for under 100 quid. And I think we paid 500 each for a month, so it's actually not too bad. I guess it's more that kind of time off work that people probably struggle with. I mean, I basically did the first camp and responded really well, and it was kind of like, well, if I'm now not going on these camps, I'm not doing everything I can to be the best I can be. So kind of had to commit to doing plenty more because I could see it worked for me. So yes, I mean, it's also, again, in France, things are a bit more expensive because you're up in the mountains, but not, I wouldn't say hugely expensive. I think it's more the kind of time commitment.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably the biggest sacrifice. But maybe over summer, if I've got 4 weeks, maybe I can think about doing it. We'll have to see. Yes, but I think my mum won't be too happy if I was away from her for a month to 6 weeks. But it's definitely something that's on the bucket list. Fontenoy definitely up there at some point.
I definitely recommend it. It's a great experience, and if you can do it, I'd suggest it to everyone.
Well, if you've ever got space in your camp, hit me up.
Yeah, let me know.
So one thing I'd like to touch on before we move on to my dream restaurant sort of part of the vlog, a bit more fun. I'd like to talk about London Marathon. We haven't really touched on that too much because you got paced. I don't know how far. I think it was to halfway by a running friend of mine, someone who lives locally, Ellis Cross. So just it seems a while ago now, and obviously you're planning on hopefully doing London again next year. What do you think is going to be different between London this year and London next year?
So, I mean, I think Kenya is going to be a big boost. I think I'm going to be training with some real top guys there. So, I think that the way you kind of improve a marathon and everything else is just putting blocks and blocks together. So, all the kind of gains I got, fitness gains for London, kind of work on that and build on it. We're also, in terms of training, doing bigger sessions. So yeah, I think it's just getting used to handling a quicker pace and just working on a few weaknesses that came out of last London. Maybe that like 30 to 40k mark where lost a bit of time. So that's going to be working on strengthening up the long runs to make sure that doesn't happen so much next time.
What do you make of the course at London? Obviously, you just said that you lost some time between 30 and 40k. I think that's pretty expected for a marathon. You know, that's probably the toughest period of the race. But yeah, what do you make of the course?
I mean, I don't think it's the quickest course, but I mean, the first half downhill, so you're always going to run a bit quicker. I was in the first couple of kilometers are downhill, and it's all a bit more. Yeah, I'd say the first half is definitely quicker. It's sort of more straight, whereas the second half you got the bits through Canary Wharf. It's a bit windy, and you can get headwind towards the end. So I think it's the quickest course, but the support is amazing, which I think kind of as a London-based runner that kind of evens it up a little bit. That which makes it kind of a no-brainer to do London. It's such a good feeling. Like I did it last year and it didn't go so well, whereas this year went much better, and it was just yeah, I enjoyed it so much that it's kind of a no-brainer to want to do it again.
Do you think you have to get that kind of first London out of your system to then be able to actually approach it properly and like not get ahead of yourself in the race? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I had a lot of nerves going into the first time I did London. It was my second ever marathon, and the build up hadn't been ideal. And yeah, it kind of unraveled pretty early. So I think you kind of need to learn these things, and just going into it again, knowing how it all works, um, and feeling comfortable with it all. Yeah, so I think second and third time, hopefully get better and better.
Yeah, for sure. Have you got any targets in mind, or is it too early to say for April?
I'd like to run about 2:10 is the goal.
Yeah,
I think I was maybe in slightly better shape than I ran last time. So another couple of minutes off would be nice. But yeah, we'll get a better idea closer to the race. My coach should kind of um, look at my training and come up with a pace strategy. It also depends a bit on, like you mentioned before, the paces. So we're lucky to have Ellis pace us pretty consistently through to halfway, which makes a big difference. You kind of, if someone's going slightly quicker than you might want, it's better to go with a group than run the whole thing on your own. So we'll kind of have to see what everyone else is doing.
yeah, for sure. I think even with London, I think obviously as a amateur runner, someone who's maybe aiming for, I don't know, 3 hours, 4 hours, or whatever, you're going to be so surrounded by people. It doesn't matter what pace you go, you can have people around you. But I still think even at a massive popular event like London, a time like yourself, like 2:14, it still can get like really lonely, and you have to be really careful about not getting isolated. Because I definitely saw that happen to some other athletes. But yeah,
Well, yeah, I was pretty much on my own from the second half. Could see there's a guy, Matt Leach, that was just ahead of me up to 18, and then I went past him, but we didn't actually run together that much. So yeah, it was pretty solo second half. But I think you come to expect that in the marathon. Maybe if I was a bit quicker, I could have latched onto the group ahead. But yeah, hopefully next time we'll have a group for further.
for sure. Okay, so we're going to move on to my dream restaurant. People have said I should call it the Toad in the Coal.
I like that.
I see if I can come up with as many kind of puns as possible. So basically, the idea behind this is that you've just ran your 2:10. Imagine you just ran your 2:10, and you're going to treat yourself. You're going to have any food in the world, anything you've had in the past, anything you could possibly think of. 3-course meal with a side. So we're going to start off with your starter. Oh, actually, I'll tell you what. Where would you like this meal to take place? You can pick anywhere in the world. What's the location?
Um, so I mean, I kind of have a place I always go after London.
Okay.
I mean, it's not the most exciting place. So I'll try and think of something better. I actually went to Iceland last year and had some of the most amazing meals. So I think I'd go for Iceland.
Okay.
Yeah.
Iceland. I mean, I probably would have picked a better supermarket personally, maybe like as the Sainsbury's, but no, I'm joking, I'm joking. Okay, so starters, I think it really sets the tone for the rest of the meal. So I'm going to judge you if you pick a bad starter, like a cheese board, something like that. Not too happy about that, but I'll see what you've got to say. What starter would you pick?
So I'm not really. I wouldn't really go for starters normally, but I go for like um. Oh, it's a tough one. Like mini burgers, I think. I'm not sure I
Okay.
can quite class as a starter, but we're gonna put it out there.
If that's what you want, that's what you can have, mate. I like that actually. Have you had this before, or is this something that in your head you're thinking, yeah, that'd be pretty good?
It's just a way of getting two main meals basically. So
Okay.
yeah,
Trying to put the calories back in after that 2:10. That's fair enough. I rate it. And with these, but are you vegetarian or vegan or anything, or are these
no, these are for the full meat.
okay? And are we going brioche buns or are we going like your normal kind of with the sesame seeds on?
So I'm actually gluten intolerant, so it'd have to be gluten free,
Mm.
but like
Okay.
a proper sesame seed type. You can get some decent ones at a good place, so we'll go with that.
Okay, and where would you go if you're obviously as a gluten intolerant? Have you got celiac disease? Is
No,
that
not celiac, just
just intolerant? Fair enough.
yeah.
So where would you go for these buns?
Um, I mean, I feel like just like a something like a Five Guys, just something
Okay,
pure like stodge.
fair enough. I rate it. I mean, I used to work at Five Guys. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't know that. No,
So
that was
I never want to touch a Five Guys bun ever again. But if that's what you would like, that's
yeah.
absolutely fine. Okay, so we'll move on to the main course. This is probably arguably the most important. Some would say dessert, but okay. So what are you picking after your 2:10 marathon for your main course?
So again, I always just fancy fish and chips, so it's going to be fish and chips.
Okay,
Um,
is there a particular place you like your fish and chips from?
um, I feel like the it's like the Gordon Ramsay restaurant uptown that do
Okay.
a decent fish and chips.
I have seen a bit of that because I think they actually sponsor some athletes, don't they? The Gordon Ramsay.
Well, hopefully I hear this and we can get on board.
Yeah, I think they do. I think I've seen it somewhere that they do sponsor like some athletes. I can't tell if I just made that up, but okay. So what sort of fish are you picking? Is it just standard cod or?
Yeah, I think yeah, standard cod. I'm a simple guy.
Yeah,
Nice. Nothing too excited.
fair enough. And is that with salt and vinegar on the chips?
Not vinegar, just salt.
No,
Yeah.
just salt. Fair enough. That's probably what I would say with the chips. Yeah, just salt. And are you picking a side with this, or do you think that main course is enough on its own?
Maybe some mushy peas. That'll go
Okay,
nicely.
interesting. Little
Yeah.
curveball in there. Okay, I'm gonna withhold judgment on the mushy peas. I have to say I haven't really tried them recently. And for some reason in the last kind of 12 months I've kind of changed from like maybe 2 years, but like gone from kind of a picky eater to someone that just literally eats anything and everything. And I'll just devour anything. So maybe I'll have to give some mushy peas a go, but I just can't see the consistency being to my taste, to be honest.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the color as well. Anyway, this is my favorite dish. The dessert. This is my favorite course. So if you pick a savory dessert, I will end end the podcast there. What are you picking as a dessert?
So I think it'll probably go two desserts. If we run 2:10, we'll go big.
I,
Yeah.
I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
We've earned it. We'll go a warm chocolate brownie.
Okay,
Had a pretty banging one from there's a bakery, Gale's Bakery. There's loads of them.
okay,
That's pretty decent.
nice.
Um, and also apple crumble and custard.
Okay,
Um,
you okay. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a massive fish guy, so I was a bit on the fence after the fish and chips. But you fully redeemed yourself with the two desserts because I'm a massive sweet person. With the brownie, are you having it with custard or cream, or is it just the
bit
brownie?
of ice cream, I reckon.
Okay, and then the custard goes with the apple crumble.
Yeah.
Or yeah, see, my dad's going to listen to this and go, So yeah, sounds pretty good to me. But anyway, thank you for coming onto the podcast. That's a pretty good menu. I'm pretty happy about that. I was just really hoping it wasn't so disappointing after you just ran 2:10 and then you go, oh yeah, I'll have a sandwich. Um, but anyway, yeah, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. I hope you've enjoyed having a little chat.
No, thanks for having me on, and yeah, good to chat to you.
Yeah, no problem. And maybe I can tag along on a training camp in maybe not. I'm trying to think when I'll do marathons. Probably like 2 3 years, maybe something like that. So
I mean, I
we'll
think
see.
I've still been going on camps in 2 or 3 years, so we can sort that out.
Maybe I'll see you in Kenya. Lovely
Yeah.
jubbly. Right. Anyway, thank you very much. Take care.
Cheers. Thank you.